Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Angelique Conger. We'll be discussing her fantastic book, Lost Children of the Prophet, Book 1. Available at Amazon, or if you guys want to get everything that Angelique has to offer, do yourself a favor and go directly to her personal website, AngeliqueCongerAuthor.com. There, not only will you be able to find this book, guys, Angelique has a canon of books underneath her belt. And I say canon because there's really that many titles that she has written. I mean, she is beyond impressive with the amount of work that she's been able to construct in such a short period of time. And you have to go to her website to be able to experience it all. You'll find more information on her, more information on all of the books that she's written thus far, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you directly to her Amazon pages. So one more time, that's AngeliqueCongerAuthor.com. And I will say, Angelique was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business. Author Reputation Press Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, move it to Author Reputation Press. You can find them at authorreputationpress.com. And guys, listen, in addition to all of the work and the impressive background that Angelique has, I'm so excited to have her here on the network really to discuss her book because first and foremost, it's a fictional narrative, okay? So it's created from the main standpoint of entertainment. But I love so much that one of the main messages for it is something that we can all relate to and really something that we can all learn from. It's really going to be all about choices and responsibilities. I'm so excited to take this journey with her. Listen, Angelique is the expert. She's written the books. She's comprised all of this. She's going to be able to articulate all the nuances much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's bring her here with us. Angelique, first and foremost, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're very much looking forward to it. Just in this series alone, we have 12 books. Now, of course, we're not going to cover them all today, but we have a mountain of things to cover. So let's jump right in. Angelique, before we go into the book, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I am an author and have been for the last 8 years. I'm a mom. I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. My husband spent 21 years in the United States Navy, so we traveled around the world a bit. He never went on a ship. We went from island to island, spent some time in some of the oddball places in the world, Gibraltar, Guam, Adak, Alaska, Honolulu. You know, we were just bounced around the world. And we took our 5 children with us, and we had a grand time together. When he got out of the Navy, I taught school for about 15 years and then decided that wasn't for me anymore. And my sister challenged me to join in a NaNoWriMo competition month. And NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writers Month. And I'd never written a novel. I'd never managed to get more than a chapter of anything fiction written before then. And she challenged me, and I thought, okay, I can do this. I changed the viewpoint of the person I wanted to write about to first person, and it flowed. It just flowed. And my fingers haven't been connected to the computer almost constantly since, because I've been telling the stories of women and people from the earliest times the way they want me to.
Absolutely beautiful. Angelique, first and foremost, listen, the amount of work, as I said, and I'm going to continue to say this, so I hope you don't get upset with me. Like, Benji, we got it. All right, the amount of work, I understand. No, but it is so impressive. I mean, guys, listen, as she stated, she started writing in 2013. We're in 2021. We're talking about 8 years to have come up with, just in this series, 12 books. But she has another 2 series of books as well. I mean, it is so impressive. And now hearing your background, hearing your traveling, listen, we're going to have to invite you back on the network again, not to discuss the books, but really just to discuss your experiences, because I'm sure you have stories for days. Absolutely incredible. Angelique, let's jump right in. Lost Children of the Prophet, Book 1. Tell us a little bit about your book.
This story is a story that it comes from one of the earlier books that I wrote. I wrote a series of books about the wives of the prophets, of the ancient patriarchs, Adam, Enoch, Noah. And this story, Enos and his wife, as I was writing their story, they lost 2 children. They were stolen from them and taken to the wicked city of Nod as slaves. And I wanted to know what happened to them. The only way I could know what happened to these children was to write this book. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it came from. And so this story is about a little boy and a little girl who were stolen. They are now teenagers. They were separated, and now they have to find each other. The little girl was so small when she was taken, she doesn't remember anything about who she is. And so they have to find each other, remember who they are, and remember that they are the lost children of the prophets that everybody keeps coming to their city searching for, because the prophets are missing their children and they want to find them. They know they're there somewhere and they can't find them. And so these 2 children are growing up and facing, as teenagers and young adults, they're facing all of these challenges and trying to discover each other and find out who they really are.
Now, Angelique, let's go into inspiration. Now, of course, with so many books that we're going to be covering, the inspiration question is going to take many forms. But first and foremost, let's start off. What inspired you to write this particular narrative?
As I was writing the first book that I ever wrote, which was about Eve, our first mother, called Eve, first matriarch. Mm-hmm. As I was writing that book, it was like she was sitting beside me telling the story in my ear, and she told me about these 2 children. And I kept saying, but what happened to them? Where are they? What happened? And she couldn't tell me. They were taken for a purpose known only to the Lord. And it's like, okay, but what happened to them? We know they're still alive. Where are they? So I'm a discovery writer. I had to find out what happened to them, and so I had to write their story. And as I wrote the story, I discovered why they were taken, although they themselves never did discover why they were taken and had to live far away from their family.
Mm-hmm. Now, next part to that inspiration question. So first and foremost, so we understand why you felt the need to embark upon this journey and really create this narrative for yourself, right? I mean, the answers weren't there. Right. So use your imagination and come up with it for yourself. Now, why
I had to know.
Exactly. Now, why didn't it end there? Why wasn't it something that you created for yourself, but something you wanted to move forward with and actually put out for the public to partake in as well?
I had already written 4 books in the Matriarch series, and they were doing fairly well. And I just wanted to put another series out, another set of books out. I had no idea how long this series could go. It probably could have gone 20 books because of the time that it covers. Mm-hmm. But I decided to shorten it to this, and then I'll fill in the blanks later. And I've had people, as they read it, oh, we want to know more. We want to know more. I've had some readers who have been really very supportive and very helpful. And the other thing is, the people that I write about the wives. I write about the women, and the women are not included in the story in the Bible. So you have to make up the story. You don't know their names other than Eve. You don't know anything that happened to them. So it's all imaginary. It's all fictitious. But I feel like they sit beside me and tell me their story because they want others to know.
Absolutely. And that was a point that I was going to bring up. I'm so glad that you went there, because this is something, listen, guys, we hear the names in terms of the women in history that way. But like so many other things in this world, it's a masculine-driven world. And we never find out enough about the women. And I'm so glad that you took the initiative to really shine light on that. Absolutely fantastic. Guys, again, here on the line with Angelique Conger, we're discussing her fantastic book, Lost Children of the Prophet, available at Amazon or directly through her personal site, AngeliqueCongerAuthor.com. Now, Angelique, next concept that I'd love to go into, as human beings are known to do, the moment they start to do any research on the book and they see that it does revolve around religious figures, they'll start to really put your narratives in a box, right? Now, I want to give you an opportunity to either A, dispel any narratives, or B, double down. In your opinion, Angelique, are your books specifically geared for religious readers, or are these narratives that anybody, regardless of religious background, would be able to pick up and enjoy?
I think they can pick up and enjoy them as long as they're understanding and accepting of religious concepts. I think every religion goes back to Adam and Eve. Every religion talks about the ark of Noah and his ark. And my books are between Adam and Noah. I tell the stories of people who lived between Adam and Noah. I have readers, I believe, who are Jewish. I have other readers who may not be Christian at all or religious at all, and they are enjoying my books. So I do believe that anybody can enjoy it. There's just a thread of religion that just kind of trickles through them.
Articulate to our listening audience, Angelique, what type of research did you do in preparation for these books?
I have read Genesis several times. I have also read other scripture that discusses the timeline of the prophets, when they were born and where they lived. And so my timeline is pretty exact on how long they lived and what years that they were born and when the children were, each of the prophets were born and when they died. But there's maybe 3, maybe 5 verses about Eve. There's nothing about any of the other wives there. So other than that little bit, it is really imagination. It's just fiction.
There you have it. Next question I'd love to ask Angelique, really a curiosity for myself. What would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting prior to embarking upon the journey?
The highlight for me, I think, is discovering how a people can stay true to their faith, even in a situation where that faith is illegal. These people lived in a wicked city where even the name Jehovah was not allowed. And they were still able, within their family, to worship their God, stay true to themselves, and stay true to their religion and their faith, even when it could bring them to death. And knowing that, I know that the choices that we make all the difference in whether we're going to stay true to who we are, true to our faith, or we're going to get lost.
Angelique, as we start to tie up this fantastic interview, I know we've already started to briefly touch up on it, but let's close it out and really solidify it for our listening audience. In your opinion, what are you hoping to see people do with this book, or what are you hoping to see people take from this book?
I'd like to see them see that there's hope. I've had to be careful about talking about the fact that it was 2 children who were stolen or kidnapped, because that hurts people's hearts. But it helps them to know that even if a child is stolen or kidnapped, they still have an opportunity for a full and happy life. They still have an opportunity to remember who they are and to return to their family in some way or another. And then as you follow the story, you find that eventually they do return to their family. Maybe it takes 100 years or 1,000 years, but they will return to their family and return and be known and loved for who they are and what they were able to do. And as you read through the story and read through the stories of the other people in their families, because it's very much a family saga, it's a family history, a family story that takes them from the time they were stolen until the flood, until they come back and join in with Noah on the ark.
Now, Angelique, last question. Taking a step away from the books and really just ending with you as an artist. Being an artist myself, I love having this platform to be able to pay it forward to other artists in a sense. Now,
yes,
I would be remiss, and I would definitely be doing my listening audience a disservice if I didn't ask this next question. seeing as how you've written so many books, again, in such a short period of time, but this is clearly something that you are passionate about and dedicated to. I'm curious, and I know my listening audience would love to receive any advice that you can give a new writer, somebody just starting out.
Trust yourself. Don't think your works are garbage. I tell a lot of my friends in writing groups that say, "Oh, I'm just not getting anywhere. I have to go back and edit." I heard something one time that was, you've got to fill in your sand pile before you can build the sand castle. You have to write all these garbage words. I wrote 100 and something thousand words. I cut it back and cut it back and cut it back to my first book was maybe 70,000 words. But you have to fill the sand pile before you can have anything to edit. Don't go back and edit everything unless just make notes and go back and edit later, and just keep on doing it. And I believe that if you've got a really good story, you can do well. There are certain genres you can do better than others, but you write from your heart. You write what you need to tell. I could write the kinds of books that sell millions of dollars every month, but my heart is in this one little niche that I write. And so that I write in my niche, I write where my heart is. And as I tell those stories, that's what happens. And I think that any writer can do that if they follow their heart and follow the stories that come to them.
There you have it. Guys, listen, A, write what you're passionate about. And B, just write.
Absolutely.
Right, just write. Put the words on the page. You'll come back later on. There's always going to be moments where you second guess yourself, as any artist can relate. You go through those times of uncertainty. That's normal. That's human. But just put it out on the page. Come back and examine it and edit it afterwards. Listen, guys, what more can be said? You know, I know you're already there. I know you're already at her Amazon page. I know you're already logged on to AngeliqueCongerAuthor.com. You are looking at the mountain of work that she has comprised and put together. But just in case, I'm going to re-impress it for you one more time. Here on the line with Angelique Conger, we just finished discussing her fantastic book, Lost Children of the Prophet, available at Amazon.com or AngeliqueCongerAuthor.com. Guys, again, we just discussed one book in a 12-part series, and there are another 2 separate series of books that Angelique has written and is also in the process of still creating and developing. I mean, listen, do yourself a favor. Head on over there and pick up your copies. Let's grow. Let's develop. Let's excel. Angelique, this has been an absolute honor. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.